What's going on, everyone? This is Gunsnipe back bringing you another tutorial video here on my channel. In this video we're going to be looking at the DualShock 4 controller here. Now if you're like me and you've been playing your PlayStation for quite some time and you play games like Grand Theft Auto or Call of Duty, you'll notice that over time the trigger buttons kind of lose their weight to a degree, to where the buttons are button response is kind of sluggish and all that stuff. Well, in this video I'm going to show you how to get some weight back into these buttons, and also how to fix the grommets that are in here. So if this video was any of help, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel for some tutorial videos that will come down the line eventually. So with that being said, let's not waste any more time and get right into it. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna need to do is take out the 4 screws that are on the back end of the controller. There's gonna be one here, 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 and right there. Now, of course, by doing this, you are voiding the warranty on this controller. So if your controller is still within the 1-year warranty, send it off to Sony or do whatever to get a fresh controller. Now, in this controller will be kind of hard to take apart unless you've already done so. So you would need a Phillips screwdriver, a pair of tweezers or small needle nose pliers to properly disconnect the wiring inside, and of course, if this is your first time taking apart the controller, a flathead screwdriver or something to kind of pry the shell off. Afterwards, it's a little more easier to pry off if you have to do any subsequent repairs to the controller. Okay, so this is gonna kind of be difficult for me to do since I am doing it one-handed. So I'm gonna go ahead and unscrew it. Make sure you keep your screws in a place where you'll remember them, or in close proximity to the controller. Alright, now that the screws are up, it's time to take the shell apart. Okay, now that I went ahead and took the shell off, or undid the shell because it was a two-handed job, job, and also went ahead and took the ribbon cable out. That little ribbon cable powers up that USB board, so make sure you have that properly disconnected. Now here we have the internals of the DualShock. Go ahead and pull the battery back, and go ahead and also undo it. Let's see if I can get this situated. There we go. Now just be careful not to put too much force on the battery, otherwise you might break this connector piece. Okay. Here you can go ahead, if you want, you could take the flathead screwdriver and pull take these buttons out. I recommend against that because these buttons have tabs in them that are kind of fragile and you don't want to break them. And of course, we're going to take this entire assembly out, and that way we have better access to the buttons. Okay, I got the assembly loose. To get it all undone and stuff, there is a screw. There will be a silver screw right here, so make sure you undo that. And also there's going to be another ribbon cable that's right in here hook up right there. That ribbon cable is for the touchpad. Make sure you take your pliers or pair of tweezers and gently pull that out, and also feed it through the hole that is coming out of. So now that the thing is completely loose, go ahead and pull this assembly out from the top of the controller, and place the upper shell away. Okay, so now we have the assembly here. There's our buttons. Now what you want to do is to take these buttons off. Now when it comes to the trigger buttons, you want to gently pull them out of their sockets, because there is a spring, as you can see right there, that silver piece. There is a spring right there that is a little jumpy, so you want to gently pull that. Otherwise the spring will tension up and it'll pop out, and then you'll be in a little bit more trouble to put those springs in, because those springs, I don't know, they're a little bit of a pain to put back in. So I'm gonna go do that, and then we'll go to the next step. Okay, now that we have the buttons undone, we've exposed the grommets. Gonna go pull it. Now you can just go ahead and gently pull one out without disturbing the PCB membrane board and the spring, and gently pull one out. And this is what it looks like and stuff. Now some of the earlier controllers have like a more vanilla color grommet. Like there's gonna be slight variants of it, but this is what you want to be looking for. Now, what's causing an issue with these controllers is, I don't know if you can see that properly, but on the bottom grommet, that's where the L2 or R2 buttons are gonna be. There's a watch. Let's put that inside. Try to get some light on here. Alright. As you can see, there's like slight divots in the wall of the grommet right there and right there. What's causing that is that on the back of these trigger buttons, that slight piece of plastic that's sticking out right here, that's what makes contact to these grommets. And over time, as you push on these buttons to play Call of Duty, Grand Theft Auto, or any racing game that requires you to use the trigger buttons as the throttle for your cars and stuff, over time, that piece of plastic will eat into the grommet, into the walls of it, to the point where it'll start losing connection to it, to where the controls will feel kind of sluggish, and then ultimately the button won't respond anymore. This is I believe this is a deliberate flaw that Sony put in their controllers to make people buy new ones when their controllers start messing up on them. And to be honest, that's a stupid idea that Sony implemented, and they shouldn't have done that. They could have easily gotten away with it with this kind of design on the bumpers, where it has like a little rod that makes contact with the grommets. But I'm just a gamer, so who cares? So anyway, let me go ahead and pull out this one. So now you're wondering, how do I fix this? How do I make sure this kind of doesn't happen to my grommets? Well, this is how. We're going to be using some silicone caulk. Now you can get a little small bottle like this at your local hardware store, like Lowe's or Home Depot, for about $4 or $5. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill in those holes, those grommets, we're gonna fill it up with some silicone, and we're gonna flush it in there. We're gonna flush it into those holes, as well as in the divots of the grommets, so that way it can be more even out. Now, if you have a tube already that's already open, and it's kind of dried out, take your screwdriver and kind of pull out the dry gunk out of it. That way you can get some of the good stuff out. No pun intended. Alright. Now we got the thing cleared up. You don't want to squeeze a whole lot, just enough to just enough, and go ahead and pause some. Hang on a second. Okay, I went ahead and did the procedure to get the stuff in there. As you can see, the silicone is inside the center of those grommets, as well as I put some in the divots. As you can see, when applying, you can pretty much, like I said, you want to keep it flush to the walls of the grommet. So use your finger when you're applying it and just flush it in there into the stuff. Now, into the grommets. Now, unfortunately, this will take about 24 to 48 hours to cure, but that's okay, because I thought up ahead, and with my Darth Vader controller that's still messed up, I went ahead and did it to these grommets. As you can see, these grommets were way worse off, as indicated by the amount of silicone I had to put into at least this one. This one's actually the right grommet for the black controller, and as you can see, it's completely to the point where it's almost worn out, and the amount of silicone I had to put in it to kind of fix it. Now, if you want to prevent this to happen to your controller again, like to these grommets, otherwise you're gonna have to buy some new ones, and you want to prevent this from happening again, I also went ahead and with these trigger buttons, I've added some silicone around the edging of that piece of plastic. This is a twofold fix that I thought of the other day. Basically, what this does is it gives the controller the buttons more resistance when you have silicone put in them, but it also protects the grommets from further wear. So now I'm going to go ahead and put the controller back together with these grommets and with these trigger buttons. Okay, now we have the assembly back into the upper part of the shell. Basically, you just want to do what you did with disassembling in reverse. The tricky part is getting this ribbon cable back through the hole so that you can connect it back to this connector. Basically, what you want to do is, while this is still kind of sort of out, you want to take your tweezers or your small pair of pliers and guide this ribbon back through this hole and gently put it back into the connector slot. Now all that's left is to put the battery back in, like so, and just slide it into the tray here. And lastly, just slide this but yeah, slide this back in. You want to slide it trigger first and just kind of guide it in, because you really want to get the triggers in first, otherwise the triggers will pop out of their sockets and stuff. So again, you just want to be really careful with this process. So let me go ahead and do this and be right back. Okay, I made a mistake. Basically, you do, like I said, you really do want to keep these trigger buttons going in first, but before you do all that, you want to kind of make sure you have that ribbon cable right there that hooks up to the board to the for the USB charge port. You want to hook that up first before you assemble all this back in. Otherwise, this board won't work anymore, nor will that light. I mean, the controller will still work because it's being battery powered, but the USB port and the light bar itself will not work without that plugged in. And also, whenever you get it to a point where this part of the shell is touching the posts, these on top, what you want to do is you want to gently push the post forward, away from you, just a little bit. That way you can slide this part of the slide this bit into the controller. So now you just basically kind of sort of scrunch it all in together. Okay, we got everything, looks good. Make sure everything clicks, make sure everything's working properly. Now we'll go ahead and put our screws back in. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and, whoop, one fell out. It happens, folks. Alright, go ahead and start screwing the screws back in. Hang on. Kind of needed my hand for this last one. Alright. Now that the everything's assembled, we're gonna go to the computer real quick and test our mod, if you will. So now to properly test to make sure everything's working fine, we're gonna be using this program called DS4 Windows. I will leave a link to this program in the description down below. Basically, this program lets you play PC games with the DS4 controller if that game is not natively compatible with the controller itself. This program will pretty much emulate a 360 controller with the layout of the DS4. Okay, so now you just take your USB cord just take your USB cord for your controller and plug it into the computer, and also plug it into the controller. As you can see, the program is reading the controller, so that's good. Now we want to do is hit that new button, which will bring up this screen which shows the controller. Basically, you can do like all sorts of things with this. Like you can test the motors of the rumble pack just by pressing those buttons, and it'll make the controller rumble. But for what we really want to check on is the L2 and R2 buttons as such. So what you want to do is click on this controller reading tab, and it'll bring up this screen. And of course there's the L2 and R2 indicators. Now before this fix, the R2 button kind of went all the way right here. That was the farthest it went because of how damaged the grommets were. So here's L. Now keep in mind, this is the controller with the grommets already fixed. So here's L2 all the way up. Now for R2, and I'm barely pushing in on it. Well, I'm pushing it all the way down, but as you can see, it's reading it at 100%. So the controller is now officially fixed. So I will leave a text like guide in the description down below, as well as links to where to get DS4 Windows, where to get replacement grommets if you want to do it that way, and also a link to Lowe's where you can get the silicone caulk online. So that's it for this video. If this video was any of help to you, please drop a like and subscribe to my channel if you're new. And as always, thanks for watching.